What is going on, guys? My name is Ben. How are you guys doing today? And today Apple had their press conference in San Francisco, their WWDC event, which today is June 2nd, and they announced a ton of stuff, which there was no hardware announced in this conference. It was all mainly about software, alright? And excuse me, you see me looking off to the side because I have my notes right here on my other laptop right here. So let's first start off with the first thing they talk about, which was OS X Yosemite. Alright, it's a new operating system, and it's an upgrade from OS X Mavericks for the Macintosh. Alright, so what's new in OS X Yosemite? Well, it's got translucent materials, and there's a new launcher at the bottom, and the sidebar apps such as messages, FaceTime, contacts, reminders, etc. are actually updated, and notification has a feature called Today, which basically gives you like a quick view of calendar, weather, reminders, and then anything else. And you have the ability to drag apps into that notification feature today. So that way, you can add like third-party apps and stuff if you just don't want to see the calendar, weather, and all that good stuff. All right, Spotlight search has been improved, and they announced a new iCloud Drive app. And they had a newer mail app in there, which can go up to 5 gigabytes of attachments. And Safari was updated as well with a new smart search field feature, which is also redesigned. Now they announced a new feature called Handoff, and Handoff is basically where you can switch between devices while working on documents. So I'm working on a document in Pages, for example, on my iMac, and then I decided to go onto my MacBook Pro or go into my iPhone and then just pick up from where I left off just right there. And it works seamlessly between devices. Alright? Now, with OS X Yosemite, now you have messages and phone call support. Alright? And you can iMessage on all Apple devices, not just specifically on iOS devices, but you can do it with the Macs too. And I'm not sure about the Apple TV. I think you might be able to, since that's also running iOS, but its own version. I don't know. I didn't watch the conference yet, so I'm not sure if they specified anything about the Apple TV. But anyway, you can also see incoming calls as well as receive them on a Mac. And if you wanted to, you can place calls from your Mac. Alright? So OS X Yosemite, it's all, with all these features in there, it's coming this fall. Alright? But a public beta is going to be released this summer for anyone that's looking to test. Alright? And a developer preview is released today. So that's pretty much, most of the stuff that Apple has mentioned about for OS X Yosemite. And now we are going to move on to iOS 8. iOS 8, they announced a ton of stuff. From what I'm looking at in my notes, more stuff than OS X Yosemite. I don't know. But before I move on to iOS 8, I want to jump back to OS X Yosemite a little bit. I have seen some pictures of what the operating system looks like. It doesn't look that much different from what you're used to right now on OS X Mavericks. The only thing that they change is they try to make it look like iOS 7. So the icons on OS X Mavericks used to look like the icons in iOS 6. And now with OS X Yosemite, now the icons look like the icons in iOS 7. If that makes any sense. Because I put double words in that. But anyway, iOS 8, they talked about the notification center, which is basically the drop-down menu. And it has been refined. And now the notifications, you can actually interact with it, and you have a pull down feature to respond. So you can pull it down to either reply to it or reject it. Do whatever you want. All right. And the Mail app, they just updated it so it's easier to flag messages, and it has a quick delete feature. Spotlight has been improved. You can search for apps that are in the App Store using the Spotlight search. You can also search for points of interest, news, restaurants, songs, and whatever else the Spotlight search lets you do. Now, they announced a new feature called Quick Type, which is basically predictive typing suggestions, and it's learning the way you type. Alright, and it supports up to 14 languages. So, when you're typing, it'll try to predict upcoming words that you might want to put in there. Alright, and as far as the Messages app is concerned, now they have group messaging, and you can share your location, and you can tap to talk, to hold the mic, to send a message. So tap to talk is basically where before you send a message, just say what you have to say, and then you can tap it to let it know when you're done speaking. So I'm assuming this is taking a feature from the Siri dictation or whatever it was, and then providing that feature, so that way you can end your message just by hitting the button when you're done speaking. Alright, and video messages can be played directly inside iOS 8, and audio messages can be played from the lock screen, and you can reply with a voice message. Alright, now Apple announced a new feature called Health Kit. Alright, what's Health Kit? Health Kit is basically, monitors your health, and you can if you burn calories or something, and there are certain steps that it'll take you into achieving your goals, and it tracks down blood glucose levels. Alright, now jumping to the Photos app for iOS 8, it works with iCloud and OS X. Alright, and you're going to be getting photo editing tools, so you can change the colors, change the lighting, you can rotate the photo, do whatever you like with it. Okay, and you also have a automatic edit option if you wanted to, otherwise you could just tweak it yourself. And of course, for the cloud storage, 5 gigabytes is for free, 20 gigabytes is only going to cost you 99 cents, 200 gigabytes will cost you $3.99. Alright, now jumping to the next feature is the family sharing feature. So multiple devices can be managed among huge families or big families, that's what they're saying, and you can set up a shared calendar, reminders, photo streams, even find my friends, and do whatever you like. Now they talk about Siri, and they had some major updates to Siri right here. So it now has Shazam, if I can pronounce it, Shazam recognition, streaming voice recognition, and more language support. Alright, and that's all they had for Siri, and as well as the lunar calendar for the people that live in China. And third-party keyboards is supposed to be coming, so they were. I saw it on the post Techno Buffalo where they mentioned if you have like a swipe feature or something, then you can pretty much be guaranteed that will be coming, and developers will be developing their own version of keyboards that you can use in iOS. So it's pretty much turning into your Android, where Android you can put your own keyboard in there if you're not happy with the stock Android keyboard that you get pre-installed on your phone, whether it's TouchWiz, HTC Sense, as well as not Motor Blur. I think they got rid of that. I can't remember that one from Motorola, but anyway, it's turning into Android now, where you can select your own keyboard. Alright? Now, they mentioned about Touch ID. You guys don't know what Touch ID is. That was a sensor that they put in the iPhone 5S. They didn't even put in the iPad Air or the iPad Mini Retina display, or even the iPhone 5C. So that was the iPhone 5S exclusive. However, now Apple has opened this to third-party developers. So Touch ID is not just about unlocking your phone and then making a payment in the App Store once iOS 8 comes out. Alright? So it'll grant new functions in the future. Now, talk about notifications. Now, it'll give you the ability to have third-party widgets in there. Alright? Now, they mentioned a feature called Test Flight, and this is more for the developers versus the consumer. And Test Flight is basically where developers can submit previews, short clips, and stickers to certain apps. Alright, and not only that, but users can also test the apps before the developer makes it live. So let's say the developer really made this cool app, but they want to see what the users think, so they give a preview to the users, or a beta version, whatever they're going to call it, and then get feedback from the users on how that app works. If it works, great, they're going to put it up live. If it doesn't, no big deal, they're going to improve it before they made it live. That way they can be assured a working app will be put into the market. Alright, next is HomeKit. And HomeKit is basically where developers can create devices specifically built for iOS. and it has secure pairing control. It allows you to control, or allows them to control, individual devices, and Siri will be integrated, or can be integrated. Now they mentioned the Swift programming language, and they were saying they called this like the new language. And it's faster than Objective-C, which developers mostly use, alright? And it also contains closures, generics, type interference, namespaces, multiple return types, etc. It's native to Coca and Coca Touch, and with all these features put together, the beta launch for iOS 8 is launched today, and it'll be available in the fall. Same thing with OS X Yosemite. Now, exact dates were not mentioned for these operating system upgrades, but as the fall comes in this year, in 2014, I'm pretty sure we will be getting a specific date. That way we can update our computers, our Mac computers, as well as update our iOS devices. Now, speaking of updates for iOS devices, there are only certain devices that iOS 8 will be supporting. Let's start out with the iPhone. So, if you have the iPhone 4 like I do, you're out of luck. You're done, alright? It'll support the iPhone 4S, the iPhone 5, iPhone 5C, and the iPhone 5S. Now, iPod Touch. Simple as this. iPod Touch 3rd generation is the only one that can be supported. Alright? And the iPad 2, I'm surprised the iPad 2 is actually getting upgraded. That's believe it or not, like that tablet was released back in 2010, I believe. I think it was 2010, either that or 2011. And we are right now in 2014. That's still a pretty strong tablet. And at the time, I think it only had phone just ring, school was calling my house. I don't know why, but now that I'm back, where was I? Oh yeah, the iPad 2 it was pretty strong. iPod Touch 4th generation, 3rd generation, those upgrades have stopped pretty early. Even the iPhone stopped pretty early. Now the iPad 2, I believe at the time it was running iOS 4. I think it was running iOS 4 when it was first shipped. And now it's going all the way up to iOS 8. That's amazing. iPad 2, I don't know how they can keep upgrading it, because I'm pretty sure that thing is kind of getting slow and sluggish right now. They couldn't even support the iPad 1st generation even more. But, as well as iPads are concerned, the iPad with Retina display will be upgradable to iOS 8. The iPad Air, same thing. The iPad Mini, and the iPad Mini with Retina display. So that's all Apple announced today. No new hardware was announced. Nothing about an Apple iWatch or an Apple specific TV set announced. No new iPhone was announced. No new iPad was announced. No new MacBooks were announced, or iPods, whatever. Hardware was nothing today. It was all about software, and software will be able to get our hands on this officially in the fall, with once the finished product has been done. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. That's all I have for my recap.